Hello, my name's Lucy Bailey. I'm Chief Exec and founder of Bounce Forward, a national charity that specialises in practical resilience. And I'd like to just grab your attention for a minute to just talk about why I think teaching resilience in schools is part of the solution to discrimination. I mean, like so many people, I watched in horror last week at the brave testimonies of Azim Rafiq, but also cricketers across the sport, just doing what they love and what they do well. And whenever this stuff happens, I always sort of have two responses to it. The first is that it's always so surprising how long it takes, the amount of time it takes, and the bravery that's needed for people, adults, to come out and talk about their experiences. And the second is the inability that we have to really learn from these situations with any real integrity. Discrimination in all its forms, whether that's racism, whether that's discrimination based on sex, our gender, whether that's discrimination based on our disability or our abilities, it all comes down to what we believe to be true, our truths, right? The way that we think, our biases come from our knowledge, what we've learnt, how we've understood it, our experience, our truths about the world. And this is true when you think about Azim's account, when he talks about, his colleagues, his teammates probably didn't even notice what was going on with him because for them there was nothing unusual. They just got used to seeing the world like this. Our abilities as human beings to adapt to the situation, to be able to go along with others because it's easier sometimes than raising our head above the parapet. The way that we create habits to help us view and perceive situations, all of this is normal. We in more recent years, our sort of the technology that allows us to be able to look at brain function, we understand a lot more now through neuroscience what's going on in the brain and what the elements that actually create these ideas for people. And one of the things that I teach to literally thousands and thousands of adults is some of those ideas. What is it that creates these habits? Because on the one hand, from a psychological perspective, we are absolutely expert at using our past experience to explain the causes of a situation, to be able to make assumptions about things, to be able to anticipate what's coming, right? We all do that. We all create these habits. But the challenge with these habits, it means that we also make mistakes, that we make decisions based on what we believe to be true rather than stopping and thinking and sort of, is this still true? Is this still accurate? What's going on in the world that might have changed, that I might need to sort of change what I'm thinking? So this idea, about teaching resilient thinking, it astounds me why we leave this to chance. Why would we, with all the advances that we've made in neuroscience, why would we leave the idea of teaching to young people that there is a link between what we think and how we feel and how we behave? And if we think about this idea of flexible and realistic thinking and how that plays into any of the discriminations that we might see, how we just get on used to hearing really inappropriate language or see the way people are treated and we just think it's normal and we just get on and we don't hear it and we don't see it. If it doesn't affect us, we just get on with our everyday lives. So part of this skill is to develop that psychological strength, to create that sophisticated thinking that means that I'm able to say, what is it that I believe about this situation and is that true? What am I missing? Is there anything new that's going on, or is there something out of my sight that might be a perspective that would offer some extra knowledge around it? What would the other people say who are not in my position and were coming at this from a completely different place? What would they say about this situation? Would they agree with me, or would they have something different to say? And am I relying on a habit of thinking which means that actually that I'm biased, that my thinking is biased, and that's what creates the discrimination? If we have the knowledge, the know-how to use these questions, we can really start to effectively problem solve. None of this is about being right or wrong. I mean, one of the things that I think why we don't learn from our failures with any integrity is because as soon as we feel challenged, we say, we defend our position. Most human beings want other human beings to think that we're doing a good job. Most of us are good people, but we lack information, we lack knowledge. We have created habits in our thinking which mean we miss information. We get on with our day-to-day basis because it's not affecting us directly. So if you think about that idea of developing empathy for self and for others, means that we start to become much more inclusive. We start to be able to ask those questions, which allows us to have a much more sophisticated sense of who we are and what is going on around us. It actually starts to reduce discrimination because we start to take our blinkers off and look more openly at what is going on in the situation. We don't need to wait until we're adults to be brave to tell other people about our experience, because we're open and listening to it. We're open and curious to different perspectives. Now that for me is something that not only can be taught in schools, but it absolutely should be taught. And for those of you listening who are now beyond the education system, you should also be learning this for yourselves as well, not only because it's going to help you in all sorts of different ways, but also so that you can model that idea back to the children, young people around you. If we truly want to do something about the discrimination in the world, then for me, flexible and realistic thinking, resilient thinking is at the heart of any action that we need to take. So I'm going to leave you with a question. How mentally agile are you?